This is the Ronin Philosopher, where I talk about martial arts and examine them from a philosophical point of view in regards to culture, influence, and styles. I wanted to talk about the influence of YouTube on the spread of martial arts in the modern world. In America, martial arts began to slowly gain prominence during the 1960s with Japanese styles that were imported from Japan after the war. In contrast, Chinese martial arts were not as well known at that time because many traditional Chinese societies refused to teach them to anyone beyond their race. However, that too also eventually changed as Bruce Lee made Kung Fu a household name and a pop culture phenomenon, such as in the popular song, Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting. Potential practitioners heard about schools through either martial arts magazines, word of mouth, or even the Yellow Pages, which I know is considered ancient these days, but there you are. This trend continued throughout the 80s and early 90s. I don't think I'm alone in saying that kids in my school try to use techniques they saw from Karate Kid or Bloodsport to show off to their friends or to win a fight. As misguided as these methods were, being kids after all, the movies did prompt people to actively look for schools, as well as look for martial arts stores where they can learn. With the advent of videos, however, this all changed. Instead of seeking out proper training from licensed martial arts masters and teachers, many people started buying up VHS tapes and books. Maybe it was to try and circumvent the official routes, or maybe it was they didn't want to, or didn't have the money to invest into lessons in the first place. Either way, it seems like a quick and easy way to gain proficiency in fighting. Speaking from experience, this was something that I did because there were no nearby schools that taught the styles that I had wanted to learn, which were Jeet Kune Do, Aikido, and Ninjutsu. Watching some dude do it on a video and reading about these steps on a page was the only method I had available to me at the time. This all began to change, however, when YouTube appeared on the scene in 2005. The internet venue created by Google was a Pandora's box, opening a door of vast new opportunities for average people to create and post content that they were passionate about, and martial arts were no different. There are many positive aspects about this development. As I said earlier, many more obscure and little-known styles now had room to come to light and breathe instead of being choked out from the light of their more popular peers. Back in the day, if a specific practitioner wanted to get their style recognized so they could set up a school, it had to be exposed to the public by a famous actor or some sort of blowout action movie. Practically no one knew of Aikido until Steven Seagal came along in Above the Law. The whole concept of special forces being badasses came from movies like Delta Force, Rambo, Commando, and Predator, putting some of those abilities on display, even if exaggerated somewhat. Muay Thai became big with Indonesian martial arts actor Tony Jaa, and most recently, Silat is getting its time to shine thanks to Iku Yawes, which I'm probably saying it wrong, so my apologies for that. But his team putting together the films like the Raid franchise, and he is blown up very big on Netflix as well. YouTube allowed other practitioners of these styles to expound upon their techniques and actively demonstrate them to worldwide audiences that they otherwise would have no access to. Are they as good as learning from a physical teacher? No. But it's also better than not learning anything at all. And it saves the learner a lot of money and expenses for gear, traveling if the style is more exotic, and lessons. What I enjoyed most of is watching different styles practice and fight with each other that, again, otherwise I would have no exposure to, putting into practice the ideas of control and respect, whether one style was better or not. All that being said, however, there has also been a negative effect as well. Almost immediately, martial artists, street fighters, and former military operatives began posting videos on not only their perspectives on the disciplines, but also their criticisms of other styles as well. Even actual fights were posted online for people to see and argue back and forth what worked, what didn't, and why. Now, on the one hand, martial artists shit-talking each other isn't anything new. Hell, it goes all the way back to when martial arts schools were being formed and founded in their own cultures centuries ago. However, what makes YouTube effects so unique is that it amplified the shit-talking from local to global. Now, it's easy to listen to a Russian Sistema practitioner criticize the limitations of Krav Maga or traditional styles, or Chinese TMA practitioners call MMA fighters dog fighters, while just generally dissing Japanese styles in general because of their history. This, in some ways, is just an extension of one of the negative aspects of the internet rage culture in general. Immediate access to venting one's opinion, leaving no time to cool down and think about what they're actually saying. YouTube also allows martial artists to attack their rivals with no physical repercussions whatsoever. And, as I believe anyway, all martial artists have egos, including myself. The last effect of YouTube's influence is increasing the damage of random encounters. 30 or 40 years ago, the chances of getting into a fight with someone who was trained was not very high, since many people thought only nerds and outcasts had those kind of interests. So you can just knock them out and be done with it. That's not the case today. Someone whom I get in a fight with at a bar may decide to employ an MMA takedown that he saw on a video or saw on pay-per-view. Basically, it raises the possibility that ending random fights can become much more serious than just employing a knockout hit or a simple armbar. So those are the positive and negative effects of YouTube's influence on martial arts. Now, having said all that, I think in the end that YouTube has had a more positive effect than a negative one on martial arts. Nothing can take the place of learning from teachers, don't get me wrong. But the two are ultimately just tools with no inherent moral compass. People can use them however they like. The burden of responsibility lies upon the individual who's actually trying to learn them, and for whatever reason why. If there are schools that teach styles that they're interested in, I think that should be the first option. However, if not, they can use YouTube to at least gain some general knowledge and maybe a training partner to work with so they can maybe make up some of that difference. So, by no means should anyone who learned martial arts watching YouTube consider themselves proficient or masters of a style, even if they win several fights. However, the opportunity to gain more knowledge, whatever it might be, is never a bad thing.